Hello, in this presentation, I'm just going to quickly take through the Higher Course Specification, just so we're all clear exactly what can be potentially examined and also why we teach the aspects that we're teaching and the content within it. Now, first of all, you can see course code C84976. This is the one you'll need for your UCAS, and again, valid from 1819. This is the most up-to-date course specification. This is kind of like the teacher's Holy Bible. And the fact is, this is what we have to use to create the courses that we have, but also all of the content. Now, all of this stuff here, you don't really need to know about. It's this page and from here, which is really important. So, question paper 1 has 3 sections. There are options in each section to allow opportunities for personalisation choice for the teacher to pick basically the area they want to do. Now, first section 1. Democracy in Scotland and the UK. Remember what we said, this has to be a 20-mark question. You will see there are different aspects that all teachers across Scotland can choose. So, possible alternatives for the governance of Scotland. So this could talk about things independence, devomax, or more powers and things for Scotland, how it should be ruled. The implications of the UK's decision to leave the European Union. So this is looking at the positives and negatives of Brexit, although this is kind of up in the air just now, obviously with COVID-19, but the reality is we could still potentially have a question based on this. Effectiveness of parliamentary representatives in holding the government to account. So basically, how much can the government get away with without Parliament, which is not just the government, Parliament, which is the House of Commons and the House of Lords, do to stop them getting their own way. Now, it's obviously much easier if the government doesn't have a majority, for example, Theresa May's last government. However, Boris Johnson will get away with slightly more with a majority. However, remember the House of Lords, as we'll look at, is an effective bloc at a lot of times. We also have the strengths and weaknesses of different electoral systems in the UK. So this is looking at first past the post for Westminster, additional member system, which we use in Scotland for the election of our own representatives to the Scottish Parliament, and of course STV, single transferable vote, not the TV programme, that we have at local council elections. Then you have to talk about what's good and what's bad and compare them and contrast them. Also, we have factors which influence voting behaviour, so that could be, for example, around the ideas of class, age, media, short-term factors, the leadership and things. So that's going to be long and short term, and ways in which citizens can influence government decision making, including pressure groups, also things like e-petitions, basically how they can influence the government to make or change their decisions. For the second section, however, remember there is a choice. We do option 1, which is social inequality, so we have to look at why does income and wealth inequality exist, so what's the reasoning behind that, so we have to be able to explain why some people are better off than others. Also, reasons why health inequalities exist. So we have to be able to explain why some groups are more likely to be dying younger than others, for example. So you could talk about areas around about diet, you could talk about poverty, you could talk about gender, you could talk about areas of like race, geography. You also have the effect of inequality on a group or groups in society. So you can talk about how health or wealth inequalities might affect some groups more than others. We have to have the individualist and the collectivist debate, which talks about things like the Conservatives who believe in a smaller government and about how people should do more for themselves. Or, for example, Labour or the SNP in Scotland who have that collectivist idea where the government should be doing more for you. Basically, some people talk about a nanny state and things. So things like free prescriptions and things like that are collectivist in the idea, whereas individualists, tuition fees, for example, in England and Wales for universities, is an individualist. And then lastly, you have to talk about how effective are government measures in tackling inequalities. So that's both income and health. So you'll be looking at all the different benefit systems, looking at universal credit, but you also look at things like legislation like the minimum wage, about the Equality Act 2010, obviously. And then for the third section, here we go, we of course do a world issue. So these are the 5 areas potentially that you could be asked about. So what causes the issue? So what has caused the lack of development in Africa? And we'll look at things like debt, we'll look at education, we'll look at health, we'll look at conflict and things. Right, the effect of the issue on individuals, families and communities, but this also links into the second one, the effects of the issue on the governments involved and wider international community. So you have a cause, you have an effect question, and then lastly, the effectiveness of individual countries in tackling it or international organizations in tackling the issue. So you basically have potentially 3 different types of question there. So it's causes, the effects of the issue, and then how effectively have they been tackled. And that's one of the reasons why we do world issues and we don't do a world power. Because if you look at the world power section, there are potentially more questions that you could be asked about. Therefore, we try and make it marginally easier. Not a lot, but marginally. Now for question 2, or paper 2, question paper 2 it says here, talks about you need to understand all the different ways of analysing, evaluating, synthesising evidence. And then the last section, of course, is all talking about your assignment and about how the assignment should be done. And you don't have to just do the area of question paper 1. However, we do like you to do an area on one of the subjects we do, simply because it means in reality you already know a bit of background about it. But sometimes people are lucky and actually their assignment area comes up in the exam and then they can use all of their knowledge that they've used for that. It's double counting. So that's the course specification. Just wanted you to understand why we're teaching what we're teaching. Thank you.